that franchise would flow.
Well, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our script workshop, and we were having a discussion about good covers because John, I think when you first got into this comic book enterprise, you came out of kind of a screenwriting background. You'd written a couple of scripts, you'd read some books. Um, like, had you really thought much about covers?
You mean comic book covers
Or,
or
well,
like
I mean, I'm
movie
saying
posters?
to me, um, a comic cover and a movie poster are similar, although obviously comic books have a style and use a certain kind of art, and movie posters will rely more on like principal photography of actors and costumes and whatnot. But still, like in terms of like composition of the image of what's going to appeal to an audience in a comic book cover versus a movie poster. I mean, if you were asked to come up with a compelling movie poster or a compelling comic book cover before you got started in this, do you think you'd be very good at it?
No, I didn't really have a whole lot of experience in that.
Okay.
Like, I would imagine what some of my movie posters of my films might look like.
Right.
But also, I've never been the type of person that I want to micromanage every little thing of my production. And
Okay.
I recognize that even if I was producing a film, the marketing guys are going to make the poster. And it's like,
Sure.
that's their job. That's what they get paid to do. I
Right.
might have the final say over what it looks like, or I might have creative input as
Right.
the producer, but I tend to trust the experts on that. And I
Okay.
take a similar approach to my covers. I will give an artist some direction, and then I kind of just let them do their own thing.
Okay.
And sometimes for better or for worse.
So the whiskey paint cover for Spirit of the Dragon 4 was just whiskey paint riffing then.
More or less. I
Okay.
gave him some creative input. It was my original idea. I didn't just tell him, go make me a cover, and that's what he came up with.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So this image here, right, with like, the tiger stripes and
I
the
didn't go into
no.
all that detail. So
Okay, and the
it's
cane and yeah.
so of course the original idea came from a conversation I had with somebody at a convention.
Right.
And they were talking about the issue 3 Whiskey Paint did
Right.
of her by herself.
Yes.
And through that conversation, I started thinking about different things. The pose that Julia the schoolgirl's in actually
Right.
came from that priest praying meme.
Okay.
Where you have the priest praying, and next to him is the chick bent over showing her ass.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
With
Okay.
like her finger in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So like I sent him that, and I said that's kind of the idea I want for her.
Right.
And then just kind of do the spanking thing, because
Right.
People love that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. And then I said, don't make it too non-con, because I don't like that. So
non-con? What do you mean?
Non-consensual.
Oh, I mean,
make sure all the characters are having fun and enjoying themselves.
Okay, because that's what's happening in a classroom environment. Sure. All right. That's the opposite of the approach I took on Palace, where they're like, no, you're going to do this whether you like it or not. So how much do you feel this specific image contributed to this specific total over here?
I sold over 90 books.
Okay, so a fair amount then, right? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I sold over 90 books of that issue.
Right, and this does not take place within the story. And what I was saying is,
but much to the chagrin of a few people that have asked me.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had to do it all over again, you probably would have included it in the story.
Yes, that may have been a little bit of a different story than
Right.
what I was trying to tell.
Okay. but a more marketable, like this cover ended up being the more marketable version, right? Like, oh,
Well, I mean, honestly, every sexy teacher cover I have ever done
yeah.
has sold bananas.
And
And
did you know sexy teachers were hot at start?
no,
No, this is
nope,
okay. You
not
discovered that.
really.
Yeah.
I've always been a schoolgirl guy,
Okay.
so that's always been kind of one of my things. Is you know, and but yeah, no, I did not recognize the sexy teacher was as big of a thing. I mean, well, to put it this way, um, for those of you that don't know, I was homeschooled growing up.
Okay.
So yeah, sexy teachers was not really a thing for me.
Okay. Got it. Well, here we are. And by the way, I feel I should at least say I was sad to hear of, I believe his name was Ed Piskor, whatever, the comic book artist. We just found out he died
What?
fairly young. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no.
that's bullshit. He's so good.
Yeah, no, he took his own life yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Did
he
you ever
posted on
watch
social
any
media and
stuff
all
on
that good
YouTube?
jazz. Pardon?
Did you ever watch any stuff on his YouTube channel?
No.
Comics Kayfabe.
Oh, neat. Okay. Yeah.
Because like Ed Piskor, he's like the Hip Hop Family Tree guy, right? And it's like him and the guy who did like X-Men Grand Design.
Okay.
They're both from Kubert School.
Yep. Yeah.
Really good artists, and they just loved comics. Like everything on the channel is like going through books, talking about the industry, but also like talking about like art techniques that people don't use anymore because it's all digital now.
Yeah.
Like stuff that's just super different in print, like how you color for like newsprint versus like bleached paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this really cool stuff. Like that channel is like one of the ways I've gotten like really up to speed with a lot of like classical technical stuff.
Yes.
That although I don't really need to use it, it still helps a lot without giving direction.
There you go.
Like if I really want to get into specifics. And so yeah, that's an utterly fascinating channel. And I mean, I'm sorry to hear that happen because it's stuff I watch, but
yeah,
not very much recently, I guess. So yeah, wow.
He was crestfallen because he became the target of a social media cancel campaign over supposed grooming, and like there was going to be a display or something, some kind of major testament to his art, which got postponed, hence an investigation of the allegations, and here we are. So
way to go, cancel culture.
There we go. Cancel culture gets another one.
I mean, and like cancel culture is just an internet problem now. It's not like a right-wing problem.
Yeah.
Everyone's like trying to cancel someone else on both sides of that. And this is actually the result because like, oh, I'm about to finally get my break. Oops.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, like whenever the small guy is about to step out and get his break, like there are crabs in the bucket who are like, no, you don't. Oh, it's horrible. Oh.
Like I used to post a lot more on the internet in general than I do now. And, me too. Random cancel culture stuff is one of the reasons why I sort of stopped. I was like, why am I fighting with strangers on the internet when I can just live my life?
Yes.
But if you're also building your career on the internet
a
lot, then you're stuck with that shit. And it is miserable.
I gotta say, I tried a new social media platform and I feel I kind of like it. I whatnot, like it's I've been researching about the stuff, and it's if you can they're actively trying to cultivate a comic book audience. Like they called me on the phone and were like, hey, can you come be a seller for us, which I appreciate. But it's looking at like these longtime YouTubers who they caught a break in 1 year and they got all these views, and then they're like, oh wow, I just made like 6 figures on my YouTube channel, I'm just going to keep doing this. But whatever event kind of favored them passes into something else, and now they have to generate content. And like a lot of times they end up just like destructive lives because they're just like broadcasting everything all the time, and they have all these haters and critics and whatever. And they end up doing it for increasingly smaller amounts of money. But Whatnot is like about like, I'm here to sell stuff. And in the case of the comic books, hey, I've got, like, look, I got boxes of comic books that didn't move from old Kickstarter. Like, hey, here's a package, Bob, these 4 covers, $20 starting bid, 15-second auction. You want it? Anybody? Okay, moving on. And, it's, you can kind of create this social interaction and community and whatnot. Just around, to me, like building customer expectations and relationships and making it more about the delivery of a product and less about super chats,
Well, that is kind of cool.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to do Harpies or do we want to do Serial Twins first?
I mean, oh, right. Serial Twins is that
the one from last time. Yes.
I mean, let's read that first and get it out of the way.
Yeah, get it out of the way. All right.
I feel like, so is this a revision or is this a continuation?
No, he wanted us to read
pages
18 through something. Yeah.
Okay, so like we gave and this was a screenplay format too, if I recall.
Yes, it was screenplay format. Yeah.
Because okay, I mean, you might as well go down.
He has not said if he's going to go the comics route or keep it the screenplay route. So he hasn't committed to that yet.
I feel like we gave pretty substantial feedback on how that works as a screenplay. Do we want to focus on how this might translate into a comic this time? Because if nothing's being addressed, then saying the same thing again might not help.
Well, we're not reading the same.
We're not reading the same pages.
He wanted us to read a little bit further into the story. I was actually going to scroll, see what he asked for. Because
I mean, we can't say that the first 10 pages constitute all of the storytelling.
Those 10 pages would be a reasonable issue 1.
Yeah.
Or the hook of a feature.
Well, now he wants us to take a look at the middle of his story.
Well, let's go.
Or pages,
18 to 28, which is
18 to 28. Yeah. 18 to 28 of a total 98-page screenplay.
So this would be the end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2. So my guess.
Yeah. Danny?
Sorry?
I didn't hear what you said. John was talking.
Oh, so 18 to 27 because we stopped at 10 pages?
Yes.
Or are we starting here on 17? Or
well, yeah, I wasn't sure if. All right, I guess if he's referring to his screenplay 18, so then that means we would start here.
Why don't we just start
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. We'd start here, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's see if this scene or sequence lands.
All right.
Interior, Building B, Criminology class. The next day. Large windows let sunlight pour in as the twins file in with the rest of the students. A photo of Jameson sits on an easel to one side. The bell rings throughout the campus hallways. There's a bell at a university? The twins take a seat at the back, Megan on the end of the row. The class pulls out books, looks over homework. Megan looks around for Howard, but doesn't see him. Mr. Hamill, 45, enters, stern mustache, a rosary around his neck. The class settles as he sets his briefcase on his desk.
Cell phones off.
The class is momentarily filled with cell phones powering off with ringtones. Mr. Hamill approaches a student in the first row and hands him a blank sheet of paper.
Somebody has been signing their absent friends into class. Let's not be doing that, okay?
Surprised faces all around. Mr. Hamill gives a stern look to his class, then takes a photo of Jameson off the easel, handing it to the student at the opposite end of the first row.
I thought I'd pass this around and everybody could sign it for Jameson's family.
Mr. Hamill goes to the board and erases the remnants of the previous session, then writes big and fast, underline, vigilantism. Mr. Hamill turns to the class, looks them over, complete control. He sees Megan and Catherine in the back, stares.
Hello.
Every head turns.
Do I need my glasses checked? I'm seeing double.
My God, if someone reports him to the dean, he's so getting fired for sexual harassment.
Exactly.
The class snickers at his cuteness. Okay, the twins force a giggle.
Auditing.
Is that okay?
Students usually get consent from the instructor before they sign up to audit a class. Clearly, Assistant Dean was swayed by a pair of pretty faces. He must have tenure.
No, even with tenure, like, yeah, sexual harassment is not going to get you that far.
Yeah.
I've worked in universities in this context. Like, there is a level of bullshit that is too much bullshit.
Yeah. That's sexist.
Fine. Prove me wrong. Tell me what that word on the board means to you.
Mr. Hamill sits down behind the desk, leans back in the chair.
Who do you want to go first?
Whoever was born first.
Okay.
The class chuckles under their breath.
Yeah. A vigilante to me means someone who can do what the cops can't.
Mr. Hamill frowns, his attention riveted on Megan as he sits forward, then rises to his feet.
Care to explain, Miss
Eileen?
Eileen, how can a vigilante do what law enforcement cannot?
Catherine discreetly pulls out her notebook and does quick sketches of the classroom and its occupants. No one notices, even though everyone's looking straight at them.
Yeah. Easy. When a normal citizen takes the law into their own hands, primarily because the law hasn't served justice.
That depends on the citizen's version of justice.
A student tries to hand the photo back to Catherine. She shakes her head no. He hands it to the next person.
You're right. That is vigilantism at its worst. Oh, sorry. You're right. This is my line here. There's only one version. Break the law, you get punished.
You're right. That is vigilantism at its worst. Some idealistic idiot who thinks they can do what a police officer or detective trained for years can do, only to come up short because their mind is too cluttered with vengeance and not real justice.
This is a very heated discussion for characters who just seem to have met, but all right.
It's personal, and you know what that is? A criminal.
What's real justice to you?
Mr. Hamill puts his hands in his pockets, stares at the floor for a moment, gathering his thoughts. A student from the back row returns the photo of Jameson to the easel.
You must watch the news. The gavel? Friend or foe?
Megan shrugs.
Don't know, never met the guy.
That's a cop-out.
You think the gavel is bending the laws just for fun?
Bend. Try broken. Many laws, including murder.
Mr. Hamill gestures to the signed photo of Jameson.
I don't believe that.
Tell me, Eileen, what are you and your quiet sister doing here? What do you expect to get out of this class?
I'm expecting less by the minute.
Good for her. Megan shoves the notebook.
They're not paying anything, but...
Stunned, silence throughout the room as everyone watches them leave, letting the door slam shut behind. Interior hallway day.
Do you think you could have been a little more abrasive?
I don't like him.
Oh, really? I didn't notice.
Catherine waves a piece of paper in front of Megan's face.
Check it out.
Megan snatches the paper out of her hand and stares at the sign-in sheet.
How'd you get this?
He was so focused on you, he didn't notice when I slipped it under my notebook.
Nice. Did you have time to sketch everyone?
More or less, but now that we have the sign-in sheet, we can look up the names on the student HUB to match them to their faces.
Megan stops, turns back toward the classroom, lost in thought. She glances along the ceiling, her gaze pausing on the security cameras. They all point toward the exterior doors.
But we still need fingerprints.
We have them right here on the sign-in sheet.
They're not gonna know whose are whose.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all aware of that.
I mean, not to
Everyone's
mention.
aware of that, except for the
Okay, I'm sorry. They'll show up a lot better on that glossy photo.
Megan kneels down and starts digging in her book bag. Comes up with a lock-picking set.
What time is the class out tonight?
Catherine.
Okay. Catherine pulls a folder out of her backpack, flips through the information they received from the admissions' office.
Looks like the last class is forensics in room 112. Everyone is out of here by 9 p.m.
Megan tugs a pair of nitrile gloves out of her book bag and stuffs them in her bra.
Trade bags with me.
Megan stuffs Catherine's books into the book bag, then slings the now empty backpack over her shoulder.
I'll catch up with you at home.
What are you thinking?
Every person in the room touched that photo of Jameson. I'm going to steal it.
Okay. Interior, building B, night. Hidden behind a shelf in a supply closet, Megan shifts her position, stretching her legs. She pulls her glove back to check her watch. 8:40.
Time to go.
She rises to her feet, cracks the door open slowly, peeks out, all clear. Opening the door just enough, she slides out, then closes the door silently. She trots down the hall, pausing outside room 112 to listen. The instructor is still lecturing. Is it the same instructor? How long is he?
He's quite loquacious.
Is he chained to the desk? Jesus.
I think it would be cool if there weren't anybody in the room and he's still talking.
Just because they pay instructors like it's slave labor doesn't mean it's literally slave labor. She continues down the hall past 3 more doors, then stops outside Mr. Hamill's classroom. She slowly tries the handle, locked. Like a seasoned burglar, she whips out her lock-picking kit and expertly picks the lock in seconds, then slips inside the room. She pauses a moment, lets her eyes adjust to the darkness while listening for any sign of danger both inside and outside the room before proceeding to the easel. Careful to grab the photo by the corners, she slides it into the backpack and tugs the zipper closed. Then she returns to the door and cracks it open to peer out into the hall. The minutes tick like hours. Then the forensics classroom door starts to open. The chattering students file out. Megan slips out of Mr. Hamill's room and silently closes the door, then darts across the hall to join the crowd from behind. No one notices. Interior apartment night. Catherine sits at the table, the sign-in sheet and her sketches beside her laptop, fingerprint kit nearby. Visible on the screen, the student HUB social media website opened to a student's profile photo.
Copy and paste.
She sifts through her sketches until she finds the one that matches the image on the screen, then writes the student's name on the sketch before typing the name on the photo and saves in a folder labeled Suspects. The apartment door opens. Catherine flinches.
It's about time.
I took the long way home, like Samuel taught us.
Megan tugs the photo out of the backpack and sets it on the table. She reaches for Catherine's fingerprint kit.
I don't suppose you thought to grab something for dinner on your way home.
I don't have any money. We spent it all on those classes.
Oh, but they're auditing the classes.
We audited the classes. Okay. Dummy, what'd you pay them? You don't pay to audit. All right.
Did someone just say you need to pay? They just gave up their money? Was this like a scam? Did they just get scammed? Are they stupid?
I think there was like a guy standing by like the registrar's office like, oh, you want to audit? Yeah, give me
actually, I feel like I'd like this more if they were stupid, but just good at vigilantism and like terrible at everything else.
Yeah, well, it's wasted money if you're going to pick a fight with every instructor.
This is the life we wanted, remember?
Bullshit. This is the life you want. I actually want an education. Did you ever consider that?
Megan is silent, angry.
We're not feral animals, Megan. Why can't you see that?
Megan spins towards her sister
and leaps at her. Growling.
You know what I see? What I saw in that classroom today? Us in front of the whole orphanage again. Humiliated, abused.
A nerve has been touched. Catherine hangs her head, sick at heart. Megan grabs her leather jacket, slams the door behind her. Catherine throws herself on the couch, curls up in a ball, and buries her face in a pillow. Through the wall next door, spouses yell. An object hits the wall. Smack. Silence lingers. Catherine presses her ear to the wall. A little boy cries. Catherine grabs a butterfly knife from the... Oh my God, what? Tucks into her waistband and marches out to the hall over to the neighbor's door. Ooh boy, all right. Exterior apartment complex, neighbor's front door. She bangs on the deadlocked door. Paint falls off. It cracks open. A mother with a bruised eye peers through.
Yes?
Catherine looks at her with empathy.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
She tries to shut the door, but can't. Catherine's foot is wedged in the frame.
Mother?
Oh, what are you doing?
Catherine pushes her way in.
These are conflict escalation specialists.
See? They're really good at exactly one thing. Interior neighbor's apartment. Flabbergasted.
Excuse me, you need to leave.
Catherine doesn't hear a word she's saying, searching for the predator. In the bathroom, a shower runs. She bolts for the closed door. Interior bathroom. Catherine kicks the door in and whips out her butterfly knife, flipping it open to extend the blade. She drags the blade across the shower curtain. It drops. A naked husband stands dumbfounded, water in his eyes.
Who the hell are you?
Crack. Catherine lays him out in one blow. He's stuck in the bathtub.
You can't do that.
Crack.
Wait, then why does she have the butterfly knife if she's just going to punch him in the face?
If he wasn't
I don't know.
an innocent
Maybe
guy,
the author
she
thought
would
it'd be
kill
too much
him.
like Psycho.
But he was an innocent guy, so she just bashed him a little bit.
Anyway, you...
Oh, you can't do that, and neither can he.
Right. She gently caresses the mother's bruised eye.
I'm calling the police.
Good. Make sure they arrest him this time. That is, if you're tired of protecting him.
The mother breaks down, sobbing. Catherine stops on her way out. She turns to see a little boy, a son, hiding under the kitchen table. The wall behind the kitchen table has a splattered birthday cake running to the carpet.
Sorry, kid. Life isn't always like this.
Oh, that's 10 pages.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so
I feel like we have enough to talk about also.
We do.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, things certainly happened. We had some interesting conflicts. We had a big discussion in an audited class over whether having vigilantes was a good thing, followed by a lot of vigilantism in an effort to find whoever killed someone in an effort to frame them, as well as in domestic violence occurring to a nearby neighbor lady. The actions that were taken were interesting, and that, you know, we are lampshading and addressing the ethics of acting above the law, or in a sense of greater justice, and whether that might be a good or bad thing. And the twins, whom, when I get to constructives, I talk about maybe they seem to be in alignment and kind of saying things similarly too much, but in that particular issue, they have a difference of opinion. I believe Catherine wants to be very aggressive and, get anyone who might be guilty, and Megan seems to want a normal life.
I think actually you got those backwards. which was kind of weird. But
I'm sorry, I meant Catherine wants a normal life, and Megan is
because Catherine was the one that's saying she just wanted to go to school.
But wasn't Catherine the one who broke in on the husband?
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't matter because they're otherwise distinguishable. But definitely one of them wants to go to school. The other one wants to just murder the neighbors.
Okay, right. Well, but if Megan's the one who wants to go to school, then but if Catherine's the one who wants to go to school, then she shouldn't have broke. All right, we'll get to
We've already discussed the fact that they sound the same as a problem.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I liked the police procedural part.
Okay.
I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting. And I do like the conflict between the two sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was something I even mentioned last week. One of the things that I mentioned last week was about like he was intercutting those flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I said, don't try to front load them that quickly. That should be developed over the course of your story through the conflict. And this is a good example of doing just that. Where if, let's say, that through their interpersonal conflict is how we should learn about their past. The orphanage and them being abused or whatever is all through that conflict. And that makes it much more interesting than simply giving us a flashback. So I think that is what should be used for us to learn their backstory and their motivations, is through that conflict, just basically how you had it laid out in that living room scene. So I think good on that, and definitely want to see more of that.
Well, the angry professor was successfully very hateable.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of very motivated action that happened at the end, so that was neat to see. And actually seeing that was really cool, and it's sort of an ongoing thing. Is like you've been really good at showing the victims in the two scenes that we have read. So that's all really neat.
Constructive.
I feel like I have fewer, although I might have more once I start getting going.
Okay.
So, okay, the entire scene in the classroom was weird for the same reason I've already mentioned, which is it started off by feeling like a high school, and that made no sense whatsoever. But ultimately, like, if you're trying to make the guy hateable, he's teaching really terribly because none of the students are allowed to talk or have their own opinions.
Yeah.
And he's totally being a dick. So if that's what you're going for, cool. Just make it feel less high schooly with the bell and shit. And then the actual plot logic of he only has one classroom. He's teaching till like 9. He's been there for like 9 hours in classroom teaching is insane. He has a fucking office. He can just put the thing in his office and they can just go there at night. And that whole there's a lot of hoopla being made around plot stuff that shouldn't take that much effort, or that shouldn't be as weirdly high schooly as it was. So continuing mischaracterization of university life, and I am no longer sure this is a superhero type project based on the fact that you just gave us Norman Bates.
There's also no superheroing in the last 10 pages. I mean,
I don't know if that's superheroing or just, breaking into a house and assaulting somebody.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Although it's cast as superheroing in the first bit, now I think we may have gotten the genre wrong, which means I don't know how to read this at all. Because half of it's high school stuff set in the university featuring the Norman Bates twins, who are also vigilante ninja superheroes. So what the fuck am I watching is my question, and I don't know yet. I know we skipped like 10 pages for this.
Yeah.
But the tone feels from these two excerpts like it's all over the place. Yeah, it turns out that's all I've got.
All right. So I don't understand the logic. I gotta say these two superheroes or vigilante pair are not keeping a low profile at all, right? If we look at what the public reports are, I'm pretty sure we got like reports that 2 costumed women, maybe, or maybe they haven't been. I find it unlikely that they would not be observed to be 2 women that were acting in a vigilante capacity, somewhat costumed. That, and now they're kind of taking part in ending a domestic violence thing and arguing in class and in very public displays. I feel like it kind of suggests like their secret identity is not going to be particularly long-lived. And if you're just there to collect the sign-in sheet and some fingerprints off the photo, then why would you say anything at all?
Why would you register for the classes?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of just walking in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like they're kind of needlessly engaging in a high profile. The idea that we can lift all these student fingerprints off of a photo, I wasn't crazy about that, because how are you gonna know whose fingerprints is whose? And
how are you going to get clean fingerprints? I
mean, there's going to be a lot of common areas of touching.
I just had to get fingerprinted for my job, and it's like a whole process to get a set of clean fingerprints, and I had to do it like 3 times because you got to do it, press this way, and then do it again, press that way, and then do it a 3rd time, pressing a different way.
Yeah.
So.
And if the ultimate goal was to get everyone's Facebook profile, what was wrong with their names on the list?
Yeah.
I mean, well, and in that case, how many people blather about everything they do on Facebook and Instagram anyway? I mean, honestly, you just they could make a few dummy Facebook and Instagram accounts, and they could probably get all of these students to blather about everything they're doing anyway, without even going into school.
So I'm not exactly sure how they figured out that whoever was the bad person was in that class, but I don't know.
There's a lot of things.
He's obviously the instructor.
Yeah, could be. And John, what do you think?
There's a lot of things that just don't make sense.
Okay.
The world and the characters don't seem to follow. I mean, like, I know Danny mentioned the bell. Honestly, the short time, the college I went to for a year had bells. So
it's some universities have bells.
I taught at universities for 10 years. We never had. There would be like a church bell, not like a class bell.
Sure.
Whatever. Community college, but it's but it was just kind of weird. They're being confrontational on day one. Like, if you're there to gather information, you want to be incognito. You want to blend in. Like, you don't want to raise suspicions. And again,
I mean, for instance, if you were there on behalf of like some kind of like eco-terrorism thing, and you were just trying to get intel so that you could come back and like blow up a car lot, or say, like do like Project Mayhem stuff, you don't want to get in a big philosophical argument for your side with the guy while you're there trying to get the intel. It's
right. I mean, and these are 2 supposedly good-looking women.
Yeah.
They go into a class, chat up a couple boys, chat up a couple girls, get invited to the party that weekend. Like, who doesn't love a great college party in a movie?
Right.
I mean, like, that's, if you're going to do the college thing, make a college movie. Like, if that's what you're going to do. and have him go to. I mean, and imagine like what kind of dirt they could getting in the gossip circle with the girls.
Right.
You know, that's great drama. It's a great way to get that kind of, you know, real intelligence on who might actually be doing the deed.
I also got to say, so this is like almost 100-page screenplay. So we're coming up on like the first third.
Yeah, toward the end of Act 1.
Yeah, towards the end of Act 1. So by now we're supposed to have our characters and our conflict fairly well established. The conflict of this story seems to be, we want to be vigilantes, but there's another counter-vigilante out there who's attempted to frame us. And maybe we don't want to be vigilantes, but we should probably find him.
Okay. I'm going to sort of interject here.
Okay.
If this is not a superhero project, as I was suggesting, was sort of my interpretation of it now, I'm okay with the fact that they're fucking terrible at this and that their punch first, ask questions, never approach continues into the classroom. With that said, we're 30 pages into a screenplay and our characters are flailing. Like, and there's no real direction. And it feels like, unless the conflict is, do we want to go be violent first and ruin our own lives and everybody else, or do we not want to do that? Like, if that's the conflict, we've succeeded. If that's not the conflict and the plot is the conflict, the plot has not developed. It's been another 20 pages since the last thing we read, and they still don't have any clue who the bad guy is. And they have this cockamamie scheme to get fingerprints off of a photograph from a classroom in order to something.
Right.
So they can check people's Facebooks. They can maybe something.
I mean, there needs to be a payoff on a later page.
At the end, but this is underwear gnomes territory.
Yeah, there needs to be payoff on a later page where like somebody goes, "You're the worst superheroes ever." Like, this is a bad idea.
Again, if we're going for something like Psycho,
right?
This might be successful, and we're watching their spiraling descent into random, vaguely justified violence. I'm okay with that. That's a fine movie. I've seen a few versions of that movie, and I like that movie. But that's not a superhero movie, like, in the way that this started off.
I have another suggestion for you. And so this kind of bounces off of, if you're not going to do a superhero, I mean, if you're not going to do a superhero, here's another suggestion for you. And for some reason, while we were all talking, I started thinking of the first season of Supernatural.
Okay.
Where you had the brothers were clearly separate individuals with separate. They were when the pilot started, they were doing separate things. They both had their own wants and desires. You know, Sam was out; he was in university. Dean was still doing the thing, and then conflict. Their dad goes missing, draws them together. Story starts. So here's a similar suggestion: what if one of the girls is an actual student in this university? Maybe they have some backstory where they used to do some vigilantism, whatever, and then they had a falling out between the two of them. Catherine decides she wanted to go off to college. Story starts, she's already in college. We meet her as the main character. Her twin sister shows up maybe there's a murder that happens, whatever. And maybe her twin sister shows up in the school. And now we kind of have, we've got college setting, we've got family drama, we've got, maybe because the one sister continued being a vigilante, maybe the one that's a student thinks her sister actually might be the murderer. And her sister now is all of a sudden showing up. And sister's trying to say, no, I'm not the murderer vigilante thing, even though I've been still doing vigilante stuff. And then I don't know, it's just kind of something that came to me when we were talking. Like, there's another direction you could do the kind of, but again, I don't really know what story you want to tell. And I guess that's kind of what's confusing too. Like, I don't know, do you want to do like the college thing, or you just want to do a superhero thing? But I think that direction needs to be decided on, and then kind of focus on what you want to do there. You know, kind of going back to our earlier thing when we were talking about Spirit of the Dragon, and I said that wasn't the story that I wanted to do. I wanted to do a story about a half-naked chick in a mech suit, you know, causing trouble, and it wasn't really about the school drama, which is why they don't spend a whole lot of time in the school, because that's not really the...
That's just where the covers spend a lot of time.
Yeah, that's where
the covers spend a lot of time in the school. The story spends a lot of times with like mechs and uranium and Nazis. So
yes,
yeah.
So I mean, because that was the story that I wanted to tell, and that's kind of what I'm saying here. Like, I don't think we understand or know what story it is that you want to tell here. And I think at 30 pages in, we should have a better idea of that. So I think maybe try to figure that out and focus your rewrite in that direction of what is the story you want to tell. Whether these ideas that we're saying work for that end or not, only you'll really know. But I think you just need to figure that out. You want to, you know.
All right, let's look at Harpies.
All right.
Okay.
So this is my issue 1 rewrite.
Okay. I'm hoping for the old John Lamont script. Let's see what we got.
Oh my God. Right. I hope this isn't a John Lamont script.
Who would you like to narrate, John?
Actually, Danny. Yeah,
sure. Let's
Preston,
go.
Preston, you can narrate because Danny did the last one.
Awesome.
I'm okay with narrating this one, honestly. Like, especially because it's completely different, and we have read so many versions of so many chapters of this that I would be totally lost anyways.
Well, this is the beginning. This is issue 1, page 1.
Narrate. Like, there's not a lot of field gallery here for issue 1, page 1. Okay, page 1, panel 1, inset.
Oh, that needs to get cut.
Fuck you.
Page 1, panel 1, inset.
For fuck's sake, John.
Danny, can you narrate this for me?
Exterior, lower atmosphere. A Westland Lysander Mark II two-seater plane flies high above the clouds.
This is Hotel Papa Yankee 1, currently heading southeast, bearing 170 knots. We've got some moderate headwind, but nothing too major.
Panel 2, interior joint RAF MI6 command room. Day. Aaron Rice, wearing a British first lieutenant's uniform, designated by the 2 stacking order of bath emblems on her shoulder and a radio headset with a log wire, running back to the radio terminal behind her, stands by a map over Great Britain with pins and string across it.
Copy that, Colonel. What's your vector?
51 degrees, 56.6 minutes north, 0 degrees, 52.12 minutes east.
Continue your heading. You should be approaching the target drop zone in about 12.
Crunch, crunch.
Uh-oh.
Sure. Panel 3, interior, Westland Lysander Mark II, backseat, wearing an RAF bomber jacket lacking in any specific rank or insignia and a helmet equipped with supplemental oxygen and audio equipment. Raj Patel pilots the jet. Sitting in the backseat, Long Fu wears a sleek tactical outfit and radio headset while munching on crunchy tacos. She wears a puzzled expression on her face.
What are you doing?
I'm eating.
No.
I'm hungry. If only you realized how many calories I'm about to burn on this insane mission of hers.
Page 2. Exterior, skies over London. Day, buildings burn. Sirens wail. Woohoo! At the start of the chaos, the SMS Ernst von Hefner hovers over the city. It is massive underdeck cannons fire on the building below. Boom, boom. Flanking an airship are attacking squadrons of Messerschmitt 109s, which engage with British SAS Supermarine Spitfires in a real combat. Burr. London buildings burned with thick black smoke. Explosions rock the London city streets. Kaboom. What the fuck? John.
It's a massive 2-page spread.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, did you miss that part?
I mean, that's still way too much sound effect, but okay. Yeah, I did miss that part. Page 2-3, I see. Okay, fine. 2-page spread. Panel 2, small inset. Interior, joint RAF MI6 command room. Day. Erin stands by the window looking out, holding up a spyglass. Behind her, we can see the London map she was standing in front of on the previous page. A radio operator sits by the radio, the cord running along the floor to Erin. Off the reflection of the spyglass lens, we can see the burning city of London, opposite of page 2-3. Whatever that's supposed to mean.
What's the status on the ground?
Not good. That Librestante airship is doing a number on us, and with her magnetic repulsion shields active, we can't put a scratch on it.
That's not what you wrote.
That's what I meant to write.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only the 15th rewrite. What do you expect?
There we go.
Page 4, panel 1, exterior, skies over London day. 2 Supermarine Spitfires break off from the attack squadron, engaging the Messerschmitt flying down toward the airship. Panel 2, the Spitfires fire their Browning machine guns on the conning tower of the airship, but the bullets are deflected by a bluish force field. Burr. Panel 3. Interior, SMS, Ernst von Hefner, Moyler's office. Day. Joseph Moyler stands by the window casually drinking his coffee, watching the active force field deflecting the bullets.
Pitiful.
Panel 4. Exterior, SMS, Ernst von Hefner, deck, day. Manned anti-aircraft, 50 caliber machine gun torrents fire on the Spitfires, closing in ripping holes clean through the jets.
Oh, yeah.
Burr. Page 5. Panel 1. Interior, Westland Lysander Mark II, backseat, day. Having finished her taco, Long Fu gleefully licks her fingers. Taco sauce and cheese smudged on her face.
Radar puts us center of the drop zone. Agent Long Fu, prepare to deploy.
Panel 2. The rear canopy sits open. Long Fu stands facing the reader in the back of the Lysander. She holds a coiled rope in her hand, leaning slightly over the side. A radio is strapped to her back, and 2 throwing daggers are strapped to her head. The wind blows through her purple, short pixie hair.
You'll want to drop to your 10 o'clock, 2 degrees. Preston, you can take over.
Please don't make me do math before I die.
Veer to your left, best you can.
Thanks, sweetie.
Panel 3. The headset removed, Long Fu swan dives out of the back of the plane, coiled rope in hand. Raj turns his head to the side watching.
Lieutenant, please tell me when you get eyes on her.
Page 6. Panel 1. Exterior, skies over London, day. Long Fu breaks through the clouds, dropping toward the deck of the SMS Ernst von Hefner. Panel 2. Exterior, SMS Ernst von Hefner, deck, day. Manned anti-aircraft gun torrents on the deck of the SMS Ernst von Hefner fire upward at Long Fu, ejecting 50 caliber casings. Brrr.
I'm prepared to wager she does not die.
Well, I mean, if this is like the first version of this we read, she definitely doesn't die.
Yeah.
Panel 3, interior, joint, RAF MI6 command room, day. Erin stands by the window, watching through her spyglass.
Colonel, I've got eyes on Agent Long Fu. Time to find out if she's as good as you claim.
Panel 4, exterior, skies over London, day. wide angle. Clouds above wisping around Long Fu dropping from above like an angel descending from heaven. Below, AA guns along the airship deck fire glowing hot bullets upward. The bullets pass around Long Fu like a ballet. Her body so small she represents an impossible to hit target.
All right.
I think that was technically a sentence.
Yeah. She represents an impossible to his target.
Page 7. Exterior, SMS at Ernst von Hefner, deck day. Panel 1. Long Fu superhero lands on the deck.
Oh, shit. Permission to come on board.
Panel 2. German soldiers races toward Long Fu firing their guns. Ra, ta, ta. Panel 3. Long Fu charges forward, throwing the weighted porcelain tip of the rope forward. The tip is speckled off-white in the shape of a four-sided triangle with a... You mean a pyramid?
Yes.
Yes. Four-sided pyramid.
Four-sided for fuck's sake, God.
which is like a square, but different.
With a ring at the base where the rope is strung through and tied off. Whoosh.
Whoosh.
Panel 4. The porcelain tip pierces through a German soldier's throat with a splattering of blood through the air. Splurt. Panel 5. Long Fu leaps off one of the AA gun torrents, pulling the chain back from the soldier as a spray of blood ejects from his throat. The Germans continue firing, bullets whizzing past her. Page 8. Exterior, SMS, Ernst von Hefner, deck day. Panel 1. Long Fu drops between several of the soldiers, drawling the twin porcelain daggers. Panel 2. With a leaping twirl, How can we tell she's drawling if there's no dialogue? Anyways. Panel 2. With a leaping twirl, Long Fu slices two of the soldiers' throats. Panel 3. Long Fu stabs another soldier in the back using his body as a shield from another soldier firing his pistol at them. Blam, blam.
Nice.
Panel 4. Peeking out from behind her human shield, Long Fu throws one of the daggers at the soldier, hitting him in the chest. Page 9. Exterior, skies over London. Day. Panel 1. As the leader of the submarine Spitfires circles... Wait, there's submarines now? What is happening? Okay. Yes, the submarines circle the SMS Ernst von Hefner. He makes the sign of the cross.
This girl truly is the avatar of God.
Panel 2. Aaron's point of view through her spyglass. Aaron watches as Long Fu approaches the conning tower.
All right, Long Fu, just like we discuss in the briefing.
Panel 3.
Sorry, I had my mute on. Forgot about that.
That's all right.
Exterior, SMS Ernst von Hefner, deck day. Long Fu sprints forward. Panel 4. Long Fu leaps off an AA torrent towards the bridge. Panel 5. Long Fu slams against the plate glass window. Splat.
In my defense, that looked cooler in my head.
Page 10. Exterior, SMS Ernst von Hefner, deck day. Panel 1. Long Fu falls flat on her back, breaking her portable radio into pieces.
Lieutenant Aaron, what was the way you suggested again?
Panel 2. Long Fu stands holding the broken radio, her lips pursed together.
She's going to kill me.
Panel 3. Long Fu stands on deck stroking her chin thinking.
Okay. When was Aaron's long, boring plan to get into the bridge?
Panel 4. Long Fu remembers.
All right. She said, find the door.
Panel 5. A door on side of the conning tower opens. Longfu is exuberant.
Oh, look, I found it. And that is all of our story for Harpies that gets presented today. We had explosions. We had a lot of Longfu. She was showing off her stuff. She was skydiving. She was dodging bullets in the air. She landed on one of those German, like the Shield helicarrier, but like steampunk German.
Yes, it'll be a steampunk version of a Nazi helicarrier.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I'm gonna actually pay somebody to design it.
Okay. And that's I think chewed up most of the pages. That conflict of Aaron with, or no, yeah, Longfu, basically being transported to and initiating conflict on the Ernst von Hauptner. So a lot of stuff happened. All right, Danny.
A whole lot of stuff happened. There was so much stuff happening. This was nothing but stuff happening. And there was vague dialogue about it. Sorry, there was dialogue about it, and there was lots of different kinds of ships. And there was a four-sided triangle, which I would love to watch someone try to draw. And there was murder and some jump kicks, I think, and somehow what appears to be a comedy gag that almost worked.
Yeah. Constructors. All right. So
there was so much happening. There was so much happening. Some of it was repetitive stuff happening. If you have two panel descriptions that look the same, there's a problem with that. And there was like no dialogue, and it was just sound effects and no one explaining what the fuck is going on or establishing the world or the setting for the brand new reader. Just 8 pages of stuff happening. And then a comedy gag that nearly worked. That's my perspective.
All right. So, I mean, look, I'll say it presents a world. We see, steampunk helicarriers and mechs and kind of superheroes. Longfu's kind of a superhero. So
does that mean she's going to walk over to the neighbors and stab them?
I mean, maybe if we brought in Rutger Osterhoff to help out, and I would be interested in seeing what those two collaborated on.
That would be a fun project.
That would be fun. The character of Longfu, I find myself not liking. Like every time she's on screen, I just want to go just turn the page. I would find her more interesting if she were more stereotypical. Like I kind of like short round, like a funny little Mr. Julia kind of stuff. But she's not like that at all. She's very kind of suave and articulate. And she says stuff that's cute. It never really approaches funny. And to me, one of the problems I have for that is that she does these funny little quirky quips as she's diving into these impossible situations, being fired at by all these guns, landing on like a hostile helicarrier by herself, just dispatching Nazis by the dozen. And by starting off with these quips, you're kind of telling the audience, don't worry, she's not in any danger. And then you confirm that. And I would rather watch a conflict where something was really at stake. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. She sounds bored. And this is the first thing that you're showing us. And you're telling us that our main character thinks it's boring. So why should we, the readers, care? Like, stuff is happening, but
I mean, she clearly is not nervous about diving.
Like it's just like our protagonist is bored. Something like there's an action scene. Unless this project is a version of Sucker Punch, then don't do that. Like Oh no, I wonder if I'm going to land on it. Oh, this is trouble. Ooh, I'm glad that didn't hit me. Oops, it hit the radio. Now what am I supposed to do? Oh, open the door. Durr, I'm an idiot. Like, have her be nervous because she's never done this before. Have her be nervous because she's like got to go punch some Nazis. Show some people like, you know, getting killed by these Nazis or something, and like the effect on the man on the street. The man on the street solves a ton of problems in superhero shit. One of which is to establish that the villain is actually a threat. Right? I mean, you don't see Captain America like flying off to save the day bored. Superman's never bored. Batman's never bored. Like even Iron Man, he's mostly pissed off and not bored. He's like, fuck, I have to do, God, I hate you people. Right? Like, bored is not the ideal feeling that a superhero should have. Unless she's been doing this for like, you know, every day for like a month, at which point we need some dialogue to say that.
Anyway, what do you think, John?
Well, so what makes the character appear bored?
She's eating a taco.
She's eating a taco.
Seriously. Yeah. She doesn't even remember to open a door. Like, the instruction was open a door. It wasn't like, you know, sneak into the escape hatch at the bottom of the thing. And it's this like gripping scene where she might fall down onto the, you know, the hard earth many miles below. It's literally walk up to a door. Like, and she can't even remember that.
Recently, I watched Masters of the Air on Apple TV, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It's a executive producer Tom Hanks, and you know, Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg clearly like working on World War II projects. I wish I could get them White Lily or something, but anyway, it follows the story of, you know, a few different airmen, you know, actual historical figures fighting for the Allies, you know, mostly fighting for the Americans. But, you know, we follow like the story, like the Bloody 100th, you know, and we go on basically like their first, you know, daylight bombing raid, and they lose like, you know, 4 planes, and there are 10 crews per plane, so they lose like 40 guys on like their first outing. And you know, then they have to do that again, and then again, and then again, and then eventually they're down to like 12 planes, you know, like, and like the stakes of these people is just like all their friends are like dead or captured, and every time they're going up there, they're thinking, this time's probably my time. You know, I've managed to survive 6 missions, but I don't think I'm gonna make it to 24. You know, like, and it's they're fighting to just try and follow orders, feeling like they're certainly about to die. And you know, when you're entering those kind of circumstances, when you're entering war, you're kind of sober about it. I think you're very conscientious. You're very kind of checklist oriented because you don't want to panic and you don't want your mind to spread to fear. So you're very much okay. I'm the tail gunner. I'm gonna look out back here and see if there are any planes. There's the planes. I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna shoot. You know, like you try and force yourself into this logical, mechanical thing. But even when we follow the veterans who made it to like 25 missions and kept going, every time they're still very nervous that they're about to get killed. And Long Fu has none of that. Long Fu is like, these people ain't shit. I don't even really need to distract myself too much away from my daily routine in order to trounce all of them. And that's less interesting.
Also, we've got an aerial battle, which should be super cool. And like there was a version of this that you wrote as a screenplay that really was very much cooler. You should look up a comic called Skyward. Image published it 2019, I think, 2020. It's about a world where suddenly gravity turns off and people have to just deal with that. So like rain is a giant ball of water that like goes through buildings and, you know, drowns people and stuff like that. It's super cool. Mostly it's like a sort of comedy type thing. But I mean, it does really cool stuff with art direction and with showing some joy in the world while still living in a really scary place where, like laws of nature don't work as they should. And might inspire you to like turn this aerial battle into something really, really cool. Because one of the opportunities you have with a series of scenes like this is that you can do really cool wide shots that prominently feature our protagonist doing something badass and like literally flying away from explosions all day long. And when you come to it, it's just like jump kicking some dudes on the ground. It's basically the same. So I feel like you also do a bit more with the setting. If it's just going to be stuff happening, like make it the coolest shit ever. And I don't feel like we've gotten to that level either.
Well, there we go. Hopefully this helps.
You should totally check out Skyward.
And I think you might like Masters of the Air. Yeah. But yeah, it's the audience, and I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating. You know, the audience, they don't know how much danger the characters are in a steampunk quasi superhero setting, but they become aware pretty quickly when the characters are like, "Oh, this isn't a big concern," and then it turns out they were right. It's not a big concern. So the audience very quickly learns Long Fu's not in any real danger, despite machine guns and mech suits. So then, what else you got?
Yeah, I think Preston's point to follow the conflict, is really a droid here, because that's really. I know you've asked me a couple of times, and like we've had conversations about this a couple of times about this project, where it's like, okay, there's this giant battle, but no one's in danger. There's nothing to protect. There's no stakes. And what is the conflict that our characters have to struggle and overcome is the question that the way you answer that is how you produce something that feels like it has stakes. And this scene is a good example of something that could be it could be edited reasonably easily into something that feels like it does have stakes. Like you don't have a ton of moving parts. You've got one character really and nameless bad guys.
I mean, well, what if people were really afraid of the Germans? I mean, what would it be like? Okay.
So all right.
Well, she's afraid of getting shot. Like
So one of the key differences that I did with these pages is that I put our main villain, and maybe I need to just spend more time with him, in the center of the opening battle. Because in the original version, there were 3 basically blimps with shields that were like.
I'm gonna borrow from Kindergarten Cop here for a minute. Who is your villain, and what does he do?
The villain
your first page is the villain cackling maniacally while bombing London.
Right.
That gives us something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, if that's what you want to do, put him front and center and not a plane, and then some weird mission about the plane. Like, your first page, this is your first page. And your first start with a big splash page. Show us the threat.
So should I do, instead of doing it? Okay. So
the fundamental question is, but for Long Fu's heroic actions, this might happen, and I don't know what this is.
Yeah, well,
dude's trying to level London with his airship that is unstoppable.
All right,
okay, but you tell us this in like a side panel on page 3.
So
not page 1, panel 1.
So the stakes are London might get bombed, And within about 4 pages, Long Fu's not particularly concerned. She's not like, oh my God, my Aunt May is in one of those buildings. It better not get. Oh no, there's none of that.
It's the theater with that hosts the band I love in Piccadilly Circus.
Right.
That's a trite reason, but still a good enough reason.
But
there's this guy who wants to take me out, and I don't want his workplace to get destroyed. It could be super California Valley Girl, and totally not understanding the stakes, but it's still something that's personal to our protagonist.
And within the first 5 pages, I want to say the crisis of London getting bombed seems like that's kind of resolved. Long Fu's kicking ass, she's dodging bullets, she's once she hits the helicarrier and seems to be doing okay for herself, I'm no longer concerned that London's gonna get flattened anymore. Not that the lives of all the people I haven't seen and have no emotional stakes in were that compelling, but who doesn't want to see London survive? So anyway.
So
and that's
more
actually
time on the villain being villainous.
On this. Erin can see this with a spyglass. Why isn't she in some underground bunker waiting for the radio report? She can't see anything. Why do we have this main character who's watching this action on literally her hometown, sitting there doing nothing? Again,
he's supposed to be coordinating from the ground. That's what the maps and all of that are supposed to be.
Yeah, but I mean, in the actual Blitz, the bunkers were deep underground, and they relied on radio for all communications. They weren't able to look outside the window, because if you can look outside the window, the Nazis who can see the window can see the light and will bomb you. Blackout orders were a big deal in the war, especially during the Blitz. So if she's underground in some unknown location waiting for the response, suddenly the radio loss is a big deal, right? If she's watching, reporting back immediately, then the radio doesn't really matter. Then it's just they don't have their cell phones. I feel like you're taking something that has naturally very high stakes and somehow lowering all of the stakes.
Yeah, lower them. It's imagine World War II.
It's a vegetarian barbecue. Where's the steak, John?
Yeah. So, anyway, hopefully
there should be stakes here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, panel 1, have your villain gloat to his sub commander about how he's going to be the one who finally brings London to heel, and these pitiful English will know the might of the Nazi regime.
Yeah,
and then show them destroying defending airplanes, and then show this random superhero kicking their ass. At least then there's a mystery, and you don't have to establish that she's godlike at this point, which saves you a ton of trouble. And then she I don't know, Hulk smashes all the anti-aircraft guns, and then they're oh, we should escape now or else the other airplanes will get us. Even with our shields, eventually they'll overwhelm us. Bye. And then you can establish, that she's super powerful on page 6 after you've done that.
Okay, so don't reveal that she's basically a god until later.
Yeah, because then at least it looks like there's stakes, and then you'll still invest people for the first 5 pages, and then you have to rely on your charm, but that's a different problem. And also, this is a John Lamont script, so tits get you pretty far.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, they're selling a lot of books for you. So
let me put it this way, John. If we opened this story with a poker game between Aaron and Long Fu, and the loser had to take off their top, you've at least given me stakes I care about. Right. Now I care which card turns, right? But this no, not what I know that London's going to get.
You know what, John? You write something every week. I dare you to write that scene just for fun and make it as seriously compelling as possible. That's a good writing exercise. And you can still maybe use it later.
There you go.
Right, like them playing poker for whatever reason. Who's going to take off their top? That's the only conflict. Do it in 8 pages.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. Hopefully, Rutger, appreciates what we had to say, and I'll be letting you know.
We didn't say the same things about it both times. We were talking about different stuff. So hopefully that'll be helpful.
Yeah, and he posted the notes that he got on his screenplay, and it was 50 or 60 words. And the biggest concern from the reader was is Austin high crime enough for this to set this vigilante story? And I feel like we've given much more clear insight in where this needs to go in order to become a more marketable story, in my humble opinion. So, anyway. All right. Well, I will see everybody next week. Meanwhile, there's a link in the description. You can check me out over on Whatnot, which I'll be streaming tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. And other than that, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.